You know that feeling? You've had a rough week, it's evening, and you just want to relax with a game. Not something new, not something that demands all your brain power. You want the classics. I wanted to replay Half-Life 2 from the beginning, a game from 2004 that I practically know by heart, yet it still pulls me in every single time. But after an Nvidia driver update that was supposed to be completely routine, my entire library of classic games died. Single-digit frame rates, the screen freezing for a quarter of a second at a time, a completely unbearable gaming experience. I spent hours searching for a solution. And after trying absolutely everything I could find online, the answer wasn't a new graphics card, and it wasn't some mysterious terminal command, it was an older driver. Let me give you some context. I have a Linux Mint PC, my main system for years now, both for work and gaming. I'm the kind of person who keeps everything up to date. Security updates, drivers, everything. That's a good habit, right? Well, one evening, the Driver Manager shows a new recommended driver from the 595 series. I think, great, maybe I'll get some extra performance in games. I click install, restart the computer, and get on with my life. A few days later, I open Steam. The plan? Continue Half-Life 2 from where I left off. The game launches, and the problem is obvious from the very first moment. Even the main menu is laggy. The mouse cursor responds with delay, the background animations stutter, everything feels heavy and unresponsive. I think maybe it's just an initial loading issue, that it'll settle down. I load my save and enter the game. The FPS is extremely low, movement is choppy, the camera reacts to input with delay, nothing feels smooth. A game that should run flawlessly on practically any hardware from the last 10 years was completely unplayable. I thought it was just a bug. I close the game and launch Hitman Blood Money. The menu is laggy right from the start too, the same heavy, unresponsive feeling. Curiously though, the cutscenes run perfectly, smooth, without any issues. For a moment, I think maybe everything is fine, but as soon as I actually enter the game, it's the same story. Sudden FPS drops, choppy movement, completely unplayable. I try Prince of Persia, The Two Thrones, laggy menu, enter the game, and the gameplay is unplayable there too. And what really drove me crazy was this. Modern games worked perfectly. It was as if the new driver had a personal problem with games released before 2010, and specifically with 32-bit ones. Then came the moment every PC gamer knows all too well. You start running through the list of suspects in your head and eliminate possibilities one by one. The first obvious step, right-click Half-Life 2, open Properties, and hit Verify Integrity of Game Files. Steam checks everything and tells me the files are fine. On Linux, when you run Windows games through Steam, the magic is called Proton, a compatibility layer that translates DirectX calls into something the Nvidia driver can understand. Maybe Proton was the problem. So I started the Proton dance, switched to Proton GE, the optimized community version, nothing. Switched to Proton Experimental, same result. Went back to older versions, still nothing. The same stutters, the same nightmare frame rate, no matter which Proton version I picked. At that point, I was genuinely frustrated. I opened my browser and started searching for every possible thing I could think of. And after a good half hour of searching, I found it. A thread on the official Linux Mint forum titled Nvidia 595 Open appears to cause massive issues with 32-bit games running through Steam. It felt like I was reading from my own diary. The user who started the thread described the exact same nightmare. After updating to the 595 driver, classic 32-bit games became completely unplayable, while modern games ran perfectly fine. As I scrolled through the comments, a consensus became clearer and clearer. User after user confirmed the issue, but more importantly, they also confirmed the solution. Rolling back to the older Nvidia driver 580. I was almost ready to give up, but that forum thread stopped me. It showed me that the solution had been right in front of me all along, inside the Driver Manager of Linux Mint. The list of available drivers didn't just include the newest one. It included several versions, including the 580 series that everyone on the forum was successfully using. And then everything clicked in my head. Modern drivers are built with their eyes on the future. All the engineering effort goes toward DirectX 12, advanced Vulkan extensions, ray tracing, DLSS, frame generation. That's where the resources are, that's where the massive optimizations happen. But these classic games use DirectX 9. And on Linux, that DirectX 9 code is translated in real time into Vulkan by Proton so the Nvidia driver can understand it. That translation layer is fragile. It's entirely possible that a small driver change created an unexpected side effect on that ancient DirectX 9 code path from 20 years ago, and the driver developers probably never even noticed. How many people are testing 32-bits games on the latest Linux driver? The number probably rounds down to 0 in their QA process. The driver wasn't trying to break old games, but in its race toward the future, it stepped on a piece of the past. I decided to test the theory with a driver downgrade. Linux Mint actually makes it surprisingly easy and safe. There is, however, one step you absolutely must not skip. Make a backup. Linux Mint includes a utility called Timeshift, which creates full system snapshots. I opened Timeshift and created a new snapshot. If something goes wrong, you can restore your entire system back to this exact state in just a few minutes. It's your safety net. With the backup in place, I opened Driver Manager. I saw the list again, the new 595 driver which was currently installed, and right below it, the older 580 series. I selected the 580 driver, I clicked Apply Changes. The system handled everything automatically. It uninstalled the old driver and installed the one I chose. No terminal commands, no manual purging, no panic. Once it finished, it asked for a restart. The system booted up. Everything looked normal. The moment of truth. I opened Steam. I clicked play on Half-Life 2. The game launched. The menu was responsive. I loaded my save, and it worked perfectly. Smooth, stable, exactly how it should have been all along. I ran through the canals, fought Combine soldiers, no stuttering, no lag, no freezing, fixed. I immediately launched Hitman, Blood Money, and Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones.
Propiedad privada, amigo.
Everything ran perfectly. My entire library of classic games had come back to life. Alright, the rollback worked, but now what? Do I stay on the 580 driver forever? Are there risks? Those were the questions I asked myself once the initial excitement wore off a bit, and they deserve honest answers. Let's start with what you don't lose. The 580 driver is still receiving updates from Nvidia, which means it's not some abandoned relic. It continues to get security patches and critical bug fixes. Modern games I tested kept running perfectly fine. Performance in newer titles didn't noticeably degrade compared to the 595 driver. What could you miss? Very new features aimed specifically at the latest generation GPUs. Game-specific optimizations for titles released in recent months. If you're the kind of gamer chasing every last percentage point of performance in cutting-edge games, this downgrade does cost you something. If, like me, you have a mixed library of classics and modern games, you'll barely notice any difference. Now, an important detail for people who don't want to stay on 580 and want to move forward. On the official Nvidia website, there's already a newer version available than what Linux Mint's Driver Manager currently offers. Version 595.7 T1.05. Technically, you can install it manually through the terminal. You download the point run file from Nvidia's website. Make it executable with the command chmod +x filename point run. Then launch it with sudo /filename point run and follow the installer steps. It's not complicated and only takes a few minutes. But there's absolutely no guarantee that the 32-bits games bug is fixed in this version. Nvidia hasn't publicly confirmed that the regression has been identified and patched. By manually installing the driver, you risk ending up with the exact same issue. On top of that, you step outside Linux Mint's managed ecosystem, meaning Driver Manager no longer fully tracks what's installed, automatic updates can create conflicts, and if something goes wrong, you're far more on your own than if you had stayed with the official method. That's why my recommendation is simple. Wait for the official Linux Mint update, When the Linux Mint team validates a newer driver and adds it to Driver Manager, install it and quickly test the problematic games. If everything works, great, stay on it. If not, roll back through Driver Manager, exactly like I showed earlier, select the 580 driver again, reboot, and you're back to normal in 2 minutes. Simple, no drama, no reinstalling the system. That's one of the luxuries of using Linux Mint. You can experiment without permanent consequences. Rolling back a driver on Linux Mint is a simple and safe procedure, as long as you don't skip the timeshift step. If you have a snapshot, you have complete control over the situation. Driver Manager gives you direct access to previous driver versions without terminal commands and without the risk of destabilizing the system. As long as Nvidia hasn't officially confirmed that the regression has been fixed in a newer driver, the 580 series remains the solid choice for anyone playing classic games on Linux. Thank you to all the channel members. Your support means a lot to me and helps keep the channel going. If you found the video helpful, a like really helps. If you have questions or went through a similar situation, leave a comment. Subscribe for future videos. See you in the next video.